Hey artists! Today we're going to make a flower sculpture out of salt dough clay. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to make your clay, and then I'll show you how to make this wonderful flower sculpture. Okay? Are you ready? Let's try it out! This is a messy project, so make sure you have some kind of placemat, like a towel like I do. You're going to start with a half a cup of flour and a quarter cup of salt. So put those two things in a bowl and mix them up. I gave up on shaking my bowl and just decided to use my hands. Your hands are going to get messy anyway, so you might as well ease into it, right? Okay, once those two dry ingredients are mixed together, pour a quarter cup of water into your mixture and get in there. So scoop and press, scoop and press. That's how you're going to start to form a dough. It's gonna be sticky and it's gonna be messy, but the more you mix it up with your hands, the more it's gonna start to stick together and the less it will start to stick to your fingers. So as you start to form a dough, scrape it off your fingers and squish it together. And then once your dough is not sticking to your fingers anymore, but you can still mush it around and it's not crumbly, you'll know that you have the right consistency. Okay, so my dough is at a consistency where I can squish it and it won't crumble, but it also isn't sticking to my hands anymore. So I am ready to start sculpting. The first thing I'm going to do is break off a small chunk of clay and roll it between my hands until it becomes a ball. Then I'll gently flatten it. Don't flatten it all the way so it's super, super thin, but gently flatten it so it's like a circle. Now I'll break off another chunk of clay and do the same thing, roll it between my hands so it's a ball. Then I will gently flatten it. So you can see the thickness. We don't want to flatten it all the way. Next, I'm going to gently pinch one side of my circle. Flatten it again and pinch that again so that it becomes kind of a teardrop shape. And I'll take the round part of my teardrop and gently press it into my circle. So I'm going to repeat this process until I have petals all the way around. Roll a small piece of clay, gently flatten, and then gently pinch one side so it becomes a teardrop shape. I'm overlapping my first petal with my second petal, and I'm going to repeat this process until I have petals all the way around. So that is our first layer of petals. We're going to do the same thing for our second layer, except we're going to change a couple of things. The first thing we're going to do is use a smaller chunk of clay. You'll still roll it into a ball. You will still press it gently into a circle. You'll still pinch the end so it becomes a teardrop shape. Now when you press it down, set the round part of your petal in the center of the flower with the pointy end sticking in between two petals. Lift the pointy end up as you press the round end into the center. And it should stay up pretty easily. It might fall down a little bit, but that's okay. So again, roll it into a ball. Flatten it into a circle. Pinch one end. Now press the round end down as you lift the pointy end up. So keep doing that until you get back to the beginning once again. One last time with even smaller chunks now. We roll, flatten, pinch, and press in the very center of our flower. Once you're done with that, it's time to let your sculpture dry. You can either let it dry out overnight and come back to it tomorrow, or have an adult bake it in the oven at 250 degrees for 30 minutes. Once it's cooled, we can start to add color. My clay sculpture is dry and cooled. Now I'm ready to paint. I'm using watercolor, which you have to wake up with water so it becomes paint. You could also use craft paints like acrylic paint or tempera paint if you have it. You could also add color with marker. So use whatever you have. If you are doing watercolor like I am, you will see I'm switching colors after this bottom layer. I switch over to a pink. And I wash my brush out before I switch color. So if you're using whatever kind of paint you're using, you need to make sure that you clean your brush out before you switch colors. That way all of your colors stay nice and clean and bright. Great job on your 3D flower sculpture made out of salt dough clay. I hope you had fun, and I'll see you next time.